Imagine this: you are standing at the end of your life, looking back at a vast, gray landscape of days that blurred together. There are no great peaks of triumph, no deep valleys of necessary suffering, only a flat, endless plain of comfort and hesitation. You reach out to touch the memory of who you were, but there is no substance there, only the ghostly echo of potential that was never realized. This is the nightmare of the unlived life. It is the quiet, desperate tragedy that Carl Jung warned us against: the soul that refused to ignite because it was too afraid of the heat. Most people walk through their existence in a mild trance, sedated by the illusion of infinite time. They believe that the gnawing feeling in their gut, that subtle, persistent anxiety, is just the stress of modern living, or perhaps a chemical imbalance to be medicated away. But they are wrong. That anxiety is not a symptom of illness, it is a symptom of betrayal. It is the voice of the unconscious, screaming from the depths of the psyche, warning the ego that the current path leads nowhere but to the graveyard of dreams. The human psyche is not a single, unified entity. It is a battlefield. On one side stands the ego, the conscious I, which seeks safety, validation, and comfort. The ego is terrified of the unknown, it clings to the familiar, even if the familiar is miserable. On the other side lies the self, the totality of who you are and who you are meant to be. The self does not care about your comfort. It cares about your wholeness. It demands growth, even if that growth requires the destruction of everything you currently think you are. When the ego deviates too far from the trajectory of the self, the unconscious begins to send warnings. These are not subtle hints, they are psychological disturbances designed to shake the sleeper awake. The first warning often manifests as a profound, unshakable sense of boredom. This is not the boredom of a slow Tuesday afternoon, it is a metaphysical boredom, a staleness that coats the tongue and dulls the eyes. It is the feeling that the colors of the world have washed out. Jung described this as the loss of numinosity, the loss of the divine spark in daily life. When a man is on the right path, even his struggles feel meaningful. The burden he carries feels heavy, yes, but it feels necessary. It is a weight that strengthens his spine. But when he has wandered off the path, when he has chosen the safety of the known over the adventure of the true self, life becomes a hollow performance. He wakes up, goes to a job that demands nothing of his soul, speaks words that are not his own, and returns home to distract himself with screens and substances. He is enacting the myth of the pure eternus, the eternal child who refuses to land on earth, who refuses to commit to a specific fate because he wants to keep all options open. But in keeping all options open, he chooses nothing. He hovers above life, watching it pass, waiting for a real life to begin that he assumes is just around the corner. But the unconscious knows the truth. It knows that time is a finite resource, and it reacts to this waste with a heavy, leaden inertia. This inertia is the soul going on strike. It is the psyche withdrawing its energy from a life that it deems counterfeit. If you feel this heaviness, this sense that you are merely drifting like a piece of driftwood in a slow river, do not mistake it for laziness. Laziness is a surface-level judgment. This is deeper. This is your own spirit cutting the power lines to your ego because it refuses to fuel a vehicle that is driving off a cliff. The danger here is that the modern world offers a million ways to numb this warning. You can scroll for hours, you can drink, you can lose yourself in the cheap dopamine of video games or endless entertainment. But the numbness is temporary. The warning always returns, louder and darker than before. It transforms from boredom into a quiet despair, a haunting suspicion that you are an actor in a play you do not understand, reciting lines written by a society that does not care if you live or die, as long as you remain a docile consumer. The unconscious is begging you to stop the play, to rip up the script, and to step into the terrifying, exhilarating chaos of your own reality. If the first warning is the cold ice of indifference and lethargy, the second warning is the scorching fire of resentment. When the soul is denied its proper expression, it does not simply sit quietly in the corner, it sours. It ferments into a toxic brew of envy, irritation, and hostility. You may find yourself looking at the success of others, a colleague who got the promotion, a friend who started the business, an artist who released the work, and feeling a sudden, sharp stab of malice. You criticize them. You find flaws in their character. You tell yourself they were just lucky, or that they are arrogant, or that their success is unearned. But this judgment is a mirror. Carl Jung famously noted that everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. This irritation is your shadow screaming at you. It is the projection of your own golden shadow, the positive, powerful, capable parts of your psyche that you have repressed out of fear, onto someone else. You hate them because they are living out the myth that you were too cowardly to embrace. They are a living, breathing reminder of the corpse of your own potential. The unconscious uses this envy as a jagged spear to prod you. It is trying to tell you that the capacity for that greatness exists within you, but because you have not claimed it, it is turned against you. A man who is walking his true path does not have time to be bitter about the paths of others. He is too busy, too exhausted by his own noble suffering, too focused on his own ascent to look down with spite. If you are consumed by the petty faults of the world, it is because you have no mission of your own to consume you. This state of being leads to a profound neurosis. Jung argued that neurosis is often a substitute for legitimate suffering. This is a terrifying concept. It means that because you refuse to bear the necessary pain of discipline, risk, and growth, the pain of the hero's journey, your mind invents unnecessary pain to occupy itself. You develop anxieties about trivial things. You obsess over health, or politics, or relationships in a way that is repetitive and draining. You create a labyrinth of fake problems to hide from the one real problem, that you are wasting your life. You become a master of procrastination, not because you are lazy, but because you are avoiding the confrontation with your own inadequacy. You are busy, always busy, but you are not moving. You are spinning your wheels in the mud, generating heat and noise but no traction. And then comes the inevitable cycle of self-sabotage, a violent rebellion of the unconscious. This is the third and most dangerous warning before the total collapse. You may notice a pattern where you build something, a relationship, a savings account, a fitness streak, and just as it begins to solidify, just as you approach a breakthrough, you destroy it. You oversleep. You pick a fight. You binge. You miss the deadline. The conscious mind is baffled. Why did I do that? It asks. I wanted this so badly. But the unconscious is the captain of the ship, and it knows the coordinates you entered are wrong. It will not allow you to build a castle on a foundation of sand. It destroys your fragile structures to force you back to the drawing board. This self-destruction is actually a mercy. It is the psyche's way of saying, I will not let you succeed at the wrong life. It prevents you from becoming comfortably numb in a lie. It forces you to remain in the wreckage until you find the courage to build something true. The pain of this sabotage is immense. It confirms your worst fears about yourself, that you are broken, that you are incapable. But you are not broken, you are misaligned. You are trying to force a square peg into a round hole, and your soul is breaking the peg to stop you. You are fighting a war against yourself, a civil war between the comfortable mask you wear for society and the ancient, primal force within that demands authenticity. Until you sign a peace treaty with your shadow, until you accept that the only way out is through the fire of discipline, you will remain trapped in this cycle of building and destroying, never understanding that the saboteur is actually your savior in disguise. To heed these warnings requires a descent into the underworld of your own psyche. It demands a confrontation that most men spend their entire lives avoiding. The cure for the neurotic misery of the unlived life is not found in a vacation, a new relationship, or a pill. It is found in the voluntary acceptance of suffering. This is the dark, iron paradox of the human condition. To escape the suffering that is destroying you, you must embrace the suffering that will save you. You must trade the rot of stagnation for the burning pain of discipline. Carl Jung spoke of the process of alchemy, the transmutation of base metal into gold. In psychological terms, this is the burning away of the ego's childish demands. The pure eternus, that eternal child within who whines for ease and flees from difficulty, must be sacrificed. This is not a metaphor for a gentle transition, it is a psychological death. You must kill the version of yourself that is addicted to comfort. You must look into the mirror and realize that the enemy has never been the world, the economy, or your upbringing. The enemy has been your own refusal to bear the weight of your existence. When you finally accept this, when you stop running from the warnings and turn to face the shadow, something miraculous happens. The energy that was once used to repress your potential, to fuel your anxiety and your envy, is suddenly liberated. It floods back into the system, not as fear, but as power. This is the dark side of discipline that the weak do not understand. They see discipline as a restriction, a cage. But to the awakened soul, discipline is the ultimate freedom. It is the sword that cuts through the chaos of impulses and desires. It is the ability to give a command to oneself and obey it instantly. This self-command is the only thing that earns the respect of the unconscious. When you begin to keep your promises to yourself, the internal war ceases. The anxiety quiets. The boredom evaporates because you are no longer a spectator in your life, you are the gladiator in the arena, bloody, marred by dust and sweat, but fully, terrifyingly alive. This path requires a stoic resolve. As Marcus Aurelius whispered to himself in the quiet of his campaigns, you must realize that you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. There is no time to be the victim. There is no time to negotiate with your laziness. You must treat your time with the ruthless scarcity it deserves. Every hour spent in distraction is an hour stolen from the masterpiece you were meant to build. The pain of regret, of looking back at a life of could-have-beens, is a poison that has no antidote. But the pain of discipline? That is a clean pain. It is the pain of muscles tearing to grow stronger, the pain of the marble being chipped away to reveal the statue. It heals as it hurts. So, listen to the warnings. If you are bored, if you are resentful, if you are sabotaging your own efforts, do not despair. These are not signs of your doom, they are the desperate cries of your destiny waiting to be born. The door is open, but you must walk through the fire to enter. You must be willing to endure the death of who you are to become who you must be. Stand up. The dream is not dead, it is merely sleeping, waiting for a master to wake it. Be that master. Rule your mind with an iron hand so that your soul may be free. Do not conquer the world only to lose yourself. The man who conquers himself is greater than he who conquers a city.